Hey guys, this is Jan. I'm here today with Natalie Sisson. Natalie is one of the biggest idols of mine. I've been following her from day one in my journey, and it's great to finally talk to you. Natalie will teach us today how she built her multi six-figure online business and how we can do the same, basically. Welcome, Natalie.
Thanks. I didn't know that. That's so lovely to hear.
Yeah, your blogging challenge actually really got me started into this blogging world. It gave me kind of a direction into the blog. So I was just playing around before that, and after that challenge, I really knew like what are the most important pages on the blog and how do I write properly and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. There you go.
Awesome to finally talk to you. So you've built a raving business online. You've made multiple six figures with your business. And today I want to know how you did that and how we can do the same.
Oh, well, that would be giving away all my secrets. No, I guess ultimately, at the end of the day, there were probably two or three underlying principles. I would say one was that I had a really clear vision for what I wanted for my life, not necessarily for my business, because when I started, I didn't have a ton. I had a lot of skills from the corporate world. I co-founded a tech company and I knew enough, like I had enough good knowledge, but I didn't really understand what I wanted for my business. But I did know personally that I really wanted freedom in my life and I wanted to be able to travel the world and I wanted to be able to do that with my business from anywhere. So that was the one thing that I was really clear on. And with that, then I just got really focused and determined and I did a lot of hustling on building a business that would allow me that flexibility. So I knew it had to be one I could run from my laptop, predominantly online. I didn't want to be bound by physical location, and one that I could use, things that I guess I'm good at is blogging and videoing and now podcasting and writing to be able to spread a message, teach a lot of people all the value that I had, and from there also monetize that with really valuable solutions for them. And that's
Nice.
pretty much what I did with a lot of failures and screw ups along the way.
I'm so glad that you mentioned the failures and screw ups because I think too many entrepreneurs make it sound like it's so easy to start a lifestyle business. You have this blueprints, what they call it, and you just follow along these blueprints and these steps they lay out. And in step two of 10, you notice that it isn't working and you have this setback that you didn't experience. So, how do we get started with building a lifestyle business?
I'm so glad you said that about Blueprint because I was just going to change that out in my video series title. And I thought, no, it sounds a bit naff because, quite honestly, there are steps that you can take. But the missing elements that nobody can give you are the vision, determination, and hustle that I
Yeah,
think every entrepreneur needs. So, you can actually follow plans and you can follow in other people's footsteps with their systems. But often what they've done is gone, well, this worked for me, so it should work for you. And that's not anything that I ever teach. Um, so how do you get started with a lifestyle business? Well, once again, I think it comes back to going, what level of location independence do you want? So I travel all the time. I live out of my suitcase. I have no home. I have no fixed address. For me, I love that. I love the freedom. I love the flexibility. I like being able to pack up and go wherever I want and be able to do that at any time. For other people, that sounds like the worst thing in the world. But like, I don't want to live out of a suitcase. I don't want to ever have my creature comforts. I don't want to, have to rely on terrible internet. So I think you need to understand your level of risk tolerance, as I call it, and also how much freedom you want. I've realized over the years that not everybody wants that much freedom. So I would suggest you really look at a lot of the things that Tim Ferriss and all those guys have talked about over the years does actually stand true. How many hours do you want to work a week? How flexible do you want to be on where you're working from? Do you want to work in cafes? Do you want to work from home? Do you want to work from parks? Do you not want to work most of the time? And then do you want to have active revenue streams or passive? So active are things like, as you know, doing live summits and workshops and events and retreats and coaching and services where you are actively participating. Or do you want more residual? Because I hate the word passive. So do you want to be earning online once you've set up the systems, once you've done the marketing and the sales funnel, that it continues to pay you out? You don't have to keep putting in effort. And it depends on the type of personality you are and what you're looking for. So I know that's a lot of elements, but you can see why there's no cookie cutter approach and why one blueprint doesn't always work.
yeah.
But if you get clear on what is it that you love to do, how do you want to be doing it, in which parts of the world, what does that look like for you? How often do you want to be working and how much do you want to be making? You start to get this pretty clear picture on the type of business that you can create for you.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought these vision elements and these strategic planning elements up, because when I started my online business, I was hustling on the side basically. I was working as a business consultant and I started my blog, and I blogged at night basically, and I didn't sleep a lot for a few months until I earned enough income to replace that job. And now, even though I'm in an online business and I could work from anywhere in the world, I'm still location dependent, as you call it, because I moved into a house with my girlfriend and we have two horses and two dogs and stuff like that. So I can't really leave that spontaneously like you could. But I'm independent and I'm making money online, and so I could work from everywhere. And that's probably what resonates with most people listening to this interview, just the freedom that a lifestyle business can give you. Um, how do we get started with act? Okay.
I was just going to say, I would say 70% of the people in my community don't actually want to travel the world all the
Yeah.
time, but they want to be able to work at home and then just break at 2 p.m. and spend time with their family or
Yeah.
their loved ones. Or they just want to, yeah, they want to have a house and they want to have all the creature comforts, but they want to work on their own terms and on their own timetable. So absolutely agree. I
Yeah.
mean, that's freedom in your own unique way, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's what it's all about. It's about getting our own approach to a business and not modeling someone else. Um, how do we get started with building that business actually? How do we find kind of the niche we should focus on?
Ooh, great question. So I've actually written a book about this because it's such a hard thing. I think when people start, they're like, they just don't understand which niche they should be in.
Yeah.
And I think over time, I've learned one of the biggest lessons is you can never narrow down your target market enough. So when I started, and this is a great example, I always come back to it because I was being so silly. I was trying to get all women entrepreneurs around the world. Like that was my target market, which is just ludicrous because it's not niche, it's not focused. And so even though people enjoyed my interviews and my blog posts and what I was doing, I had a lot of people going, Natalie, what do you actually do and who do you actually serve and how could you help me specifically? And I was like, oh, I just want to inspire all these women. And I realized I wasn't focusing on, for example, tech women who are CEOs in, the United States, or I wasn't focusing on mums with nutritional businesses in Melbourne, Australia. So that's what I mean by going really niche and defining the audience, and even further than that. So how you start out on that, I mean, it's I don't know if we could cover that in this interview, but ultimately you want to look at your sweet spot, which is that intersection between what you're good at or really good at, like you now are, what you enjoy doing. So you said you like, you've got this great business now, but you also really love it, right? You could work
Yeah.
on it all the time if you chose to. So what you enjoy doing, what you're good at, and then what people will pay you for. And that's the tricky bit down there, because a lot of people gloss over their skills and talents and knowledge, and they don't think that anybody would actually pay them for it. So I know people who are just like really great with Excel spreadsheets, right? And if I'm not particularly great with that, I'm much better now. But when I wasn't, I would have paid them to show me a quick, like, get up and going guide and just like create a cool system for me so that I could do it even more easily. I would have paid for that. And a lot of people don't think about the talents and skills they already have that come naturally to them, that somebody would be willing to pay them for that.
Yeah.
And so
Let me just jump in here because this is so important. I think I experienced that myself. When things come natural to one, you just don't value them as much. That's what I found. So I was always having this background in tech, and I was coding a bit and I was building websites on the side. And I thought that anyone could do this because WordPress is such an easy system to use. But over time, I learned how much knowledge actually goes into a great website. And I'm sure you know this as well. When you rebranded your website, it was a lot of work. So just to all the people listening to this, if you're good at something and you just don't notice it anymore, it doesn't mean that anyone else isn't noticing you're good at it.
absolutely. And see, that's a great example. I mean, I'm okay with tiny little bits of code and making my way around WordPress, but if you ask me to like install and build a site from scratch, I would say, no, I'll hire you, for example. Not my forte, not my strength, not where I want to be focusing my time. So that's why, you bring in the people that can, and
Yeah.
I'd happily pay for that. And it's like other people who are really good at matchmaking. They do it all the time for their friends. They're constantly setting people up. And I use that as an example because quite a few people are, but they've never thought about then becoming a matchmaker officially or a dating coach or something like that. So when it comes back to your initial question, which was around niche, I mean, that's where you really start to work out who do you want to work with. So for example, with you, I mean, millions of people around the world use WordPress, right? Like it's a great big niche, but then from there you want to go down to a subset of, say, online entrepreneurs who are using WordPress. And then maybe you want to go down even more into online entrepreneurs running programs online. And then maybe you want to go down even more into online entrepreneurs running programs online who are women in this demographic or men in this demographic who have these types of businesses.
Yeah.
And the more niche you can go, and as you start to hear people who are constantly going, I'd love this, I'd love this, I'd love this. And in addition to you hearing their problems, you like working with them because they treat you well, they value you well, they pay you well, then you're getting really close to your ideal niche and target customer. Yeah. And it probably knows as well, Jan, it doesn't come overnight, but you certainly know who you don't want to work with after a while. And you certainly know within your niche people who do have like the ability to pay you and people who are consistently cheap. So that's something that just kind of comes over time. But the narrower you get, the more easy it is for somebody to land on your website or blog and go, oh my goodness, this person helps people with size 10 feet fit the perfect shoe. Great, I want to work. As opposed to, oh, this person sells shoes. So I hope it's like a really simple example, but it's the only way I can kind of get this across to people is, you know, keep narrowing your niche, keep defining who you'd love to work with and who you can really help in this world.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So say we defined our niche and we defined kind of a problem we can solve for other people. How do we build our online presence? How do we get started? How important is a blog? And how do we set up a website? What's the strategy behind the website for a lifestyle business?
Well, yeah, great question. Once again, big one to ask. But I would say a presence online is hugely important because you want to be found. So you don't have to have the most beautiful looking website or the most incredible blog, but you do need to be online and you need to be consistent. And over time, you can spend more and more money on having a beautiful brand and beautiful design, which I do recommend. But when you're starting out, I know that can be difficult. So you want to go for, as I said, consistency in your brand that lights it up, that makes people attracted to you. And I know when I started as well, I used to hide behind these kind of silhouettes of women with suitcases because my market was women. Now it's international men and women. And I'm very specific on who it is, but I didn't have any photos of myself on the site. It wasn't really me. It was kind of like corporate, tech focused. And now I'm like plastered on my site because if people come there and they like who I am and what I do, great. If they don't like me, great. They bounce away. So I know that I'm getting people who dig what I do. They buy into what I do. They like my style. They like my crazy New Zealand accent, and they like how I do things as opposed to somebody else.
How do you get that transition? How do we get that feeling from, oh, I don't want to put myself on the website and I don't want to be that upfront to this confidence you have right now?
Yeah, I think it takes guts and courage. And the one thing I would say is how you get it is if you don't, you're not going to succeed half as much. If you're not prepared to personally stand behind everything that you do and be the face of your brand for a brand-facing business, then people aren't going to be able to resonate with you. They're not going to be able to connect with you. And the minute I started putting more of myself on that site, telling more personal stories, talking about my failures and successes, people were like, oh, Natalie's human. Therefore, I like her more. Therefore, I want to buy more of things that she does. I want to be involved in her community. Whereas before that, I was just faceless and wasn't completely faceless. But you know what I mean? So yeah. I know it's a scary thing when you first start. But what I tell people is when you hit that first blog post and it goes published, it's not like millions of people see it. In fact, probably one or two see it. So you get to build up over time. You get to build your confidence to a small audience. And as you grow into it and as you just be yourself, because everybody else is taken, so you might as well be yourself, as Oscar Wilde said, that's when you start to grow the community. That's when you start to see more of it. That's when you get to spend more money and look more professional and do better things and produce better quality. Yeah. So sure, it's scary, but it's also a really necessary step. As I said, if you want to build a great business, especially around yourself, which a lot of online businesses do now, it's really important that you work on your own personal brand, because your personal brand is going to outlast any business that you have. So I could leave the Suitcase Entrepreneur behind now and I could become the stay-at-home entrepreneur. And but I'm still there. Like I'm still a brand online. I've still got all that brand equity. I'm still putting out the content and the messaging and being who I am. That's why it's important.
Yeah. And another great point that you just made is just getting started with a website. I see so many people obsessing over, should I pick this theme? Should I pick that theme? What kind of plugins do I need on a website? And I just love the quote of Jason Cohen that he made during the WP Summit, which is, no business ever succeeded because of having a certain plugin installed. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just like you said, it's about consistency. It's about maybe putting a content schedule up and creating some content up front, and then just going with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really glad you touched on that. I mean, my first website cost me, I think, $100 to put up. It was a simple, clean, minimalist template that I had a friend put up, a simple banner. It was really simple, lots of white space, and I just focused on putting out great content. And then
Yeah.
every single year, I spent more money, I upgraded, I got more of an understanding about elements on the page that worked and calls to action and optimization. But if you'd asked me to figure that out in 2010 when I started, or 2009, I would have been like, what's a call to action button and
Yeah.
what's an optimization? I mean, I was just trying to write blog posts. So I always say, as you say, to start one step at a time, then hire people as you go, or learn from the right people through their programs or courses, or there's, a lot of content online that you put out and I put out that is there waiting for you to work through when you're ready for it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So, how do we make actually the first dollar online? How do we get that transition from just publishing content to asking for the sale and offering our service or product?
I love how you try and squeeze everything out of me. Well, you have to have something to offer, right? That was one of my other mistakes that I made for so long. I put out free content for probably way too long, and people were kind of there going, Natalie, do you have anything that I can buy from you? And I was like, no, let me remedy that. So how I made my first dollar was I listened to my community, and they kept telling me, Natalie, you're always talking about cool tools to use and ways to be savvy with social media and how to outsource. Do you have anything that kind of encompasses the best tools that you love using? So one of my first digital guides that I sold was the ultimate, oh my God, the ultimate tools for suitcase entrepreneurs. Something much better than that was really cool. The ultimate toolkit for entrepreneurs, and it was all the tools that I used broken down by like area of business. And a lot of that was free on my site, but because I packaged it into a book and spent a lot of money on the beautiful design and made it really easy for the breakdown of a free and a paid tool, people were willing to buy that because it was so useful for them, and it like fast tracked them through it.
Yeah.
And then the next way that I made money online was I ran a social media boot camp in Vancouver, Canada, where I was living. And I held it, I held three, they were all a sellout. And after that, I realized, God, I know so much about social media that I didn't think I knew. And I know a lot more than people just starting out. And so I turned it into an online program and made sales of that, slowly but surely. So it was really just listening to this community that I built, what their problems were, what their challenges were, and then creating solutions that I knew that they like and would find valuable.
Nice. So, I like to dive a bit into the mindset of selling, because when I started out, and sometimes I still do have issues with selling and asking for the sale, basically because I'm just not used to doing it. When I come from the corporate world, I'm just being told what to do and I tell others what to do, but there's no selling involved, right? So how how do we crush this barrier of asking for the sale? Because I know a lot of people who feel uncomfortable doing that.
Well, you've just hit on something right there. Most of us aren't trained in sales. I'm
Yeah.
not trained in sales. You're not trained in sales. So it's one of those areas that you actually have to work on and flex your muscles on and read up on and keep testing. So I know that I sell well when I'm naturally enthusiastic about something. Even as a kid, if I liked something, or as a teenager, I would tell all my friends about it because I loved it and I'd recommend it, refer it just naturally, right? I had nothing in it. I didn't have any affiliate links back then. This is when I was a teenager. But a lot of people went and bought those products or things that I was talking about because I was so excited about it. And so I've just applied those principles to my own stuff. I know that I'm only going to put out great quality content. I stand behind everything that I do. I'm proud of it. I put a lot of effort and research and investment into it. So when it comes out, I'm naturally just really excited. And I can talk about it from a point of view of, here's all the reasons why I created this. Here's my vision behind it. And more importantly, here's what's in it for you. Here's the benefits you're going to receive, and all the reasons that your life is going to improve as a result. And over time, I've just studied sales pages, sales copy, read books, looked at what's resonated for me, looked at what's hit me and made me just like want to buy straight away, and then looked at what psychological triggers and things they were using there to do that to me. And I think most people know the principles are around scarcity. So
Yeah.
you leave something up for ages and ages and ages, people are lazy and they don't take the effort to go, okay, I've got to get it now. Scarcity, exclusivity is really good if there's only a limited number of spots. I mean, these things are just basic psychological sales processes, and we all know them, but they work. I get sucked in by them. I use them, but I use them in a good way. Like, I do want people to take action. That's one of my major initiatives in life. And people are lazy, but they do have the money to spend and invest themselves if you can show them the direct result they're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
So I think it initially takes guts to just put yourself out there, but then always put yourself in the other person's shoes and say, if I was trying to sell this to me, what would I want to know? Ask yourself all the questions that that person would want to know.
Oh, that's a great tip.
How long is it going to take? How am I going to feel after it? What am I going to look like? Who am I going to be? All those questions, and answer them in your copy that you're writing or within the sales page that you're putting up or however you're selling it. Think about all the objections and all the questions in advance and then have the answers ready. It's a really powerful way of doing it.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. There's some really golden nuggets in there. And what I like is I learned selling basically from Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income. And he said one statement that really resonated with me. He said when he's selling something, he sees it as doing his audience a disservice if he was not selling it to them, because they just get so much value out of this. And this definitely resonates with what you just said.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So, how do we, how did your WordPress site evolve over the years? Because, I'm kind of the WordPress guy, and I'm focusing on building online businesses with WordPress. And I like to show my audience that the WordPress sites aren't pretty in the beginning. They're just good enough. And then they evolve in certain steps. So could you walk us quickly through how your website evolved, how the strategy behind the website evolved?
It's fun because I had to pull up all of those changes when I was getting the latest relaunch done, which happened in latest. It was July, August last year. The first one, as I said, was a simple WordPress template, a free one. And I paid a designer to do a banner. And that was pretty much it. It was white and had this blue banner. And it looked good. Like it didn't actually have a homepage. It was the classic style of people that I was following at the time that had the blog straight away.
Yeah.
It had the nice little opt-in of the social media workout book. And the blog rolled down the side, and that was pretty much it. I think it had blog, an about page, and a contact. And then I went and I had it rebranded once again. So that was about 100. Then I paid about 500, and I got a really nice custom banner done and some custom images to go with the opt-in, and I had it looking more professional. Sidebar, blog once again, a better call to action. I still didn't really have anything for sale at that point. And then slowly I introduced products and programs. So then I had a products page. And then I rebranded again into one that I really liked, spent considerable amount more money, around $2,000 to $2,500. That seemed like a lot to me at the time. And had it all customized and built out with really nice widgets and really great product page where I could display my, by then, 3 digital books and the programs that I was doing. And it was really easy to use in the back end because WordPress is. So every time it got fancier, it was still easy for me to understand the menus and the widgets and things and change stuff. And then the final one was purely because I needed to go mobile optimize. I realized I was getting 40% of my traffic was from mobile and my site was not optimized. And I was like, oh my God. And the bounce rate shot through the roof because they were like, not going to stick around. So the whole reason I got it changed was for that, and I really liked the Bootstrap theme or the content management system below it. So we kind of went more for that look where it looks totally different. So you do have a homepage now, and there's all the pieces of the pie to it, so people can choose their own adventure, which is my type of style, right? So it doesn't look like any other website blog that I've seen. I definitely stole elements from all these people that I liked, but I was very mindful that I wanted it to look unique and be kind of a place where you could just choose your own adventure, as I said. I'm still working on the call to actions. Like I've even rethought them again, and there's lots of things that I can keep working on. So each time I'm just like making tweaks and optimizing it and continuing to better what I've done. And that was, again, a couple of $1,000s in terms of investment, but I had a much better structure and framework, and I knew exactly what I wanted this time, and I worked really closely with the person to get it right.
Yeah. Could you tell us a bit more about the structure and the framework of the website and the strategy behind the certain pages? Because when I talk to my audience, they kind of are lost in a little way, like how to structure the website and what pages are most important, and how all the big shots like you and John Lee Dumas and Pat and stuff, how they structure their websites and how they could use this experience that you guys have.
Yeah, well, I think without jumping ahead too far, I mean, you don't need that much when you start or even when you're building a great business. I've seen people with the most simple, boring websites who get tons of sales because they just focus on great content. I personally don't like their sites as much, but and you probably know this better than me actually, the second most or sometimes the first most visited page on your website is the About page. So
Yeah.
if you're going to do a great job of anything, it's telling a really fantastic story on the About page that leads your visitors off to the areas that you want them to focus on, whether it's your products, your services, your free stuff, your content. And a lot of people gloss over the About page, similar to how they gloss over selling, because they're uncomfortable with putting themselves out there, they're uncomfortable with telling their story. And I'll tell you what, like I get put off or completely buy into somebody based on their About page. And I know it's true for me as well. So the more personality you can put behind it, photos, images, like really a compelling story on why they should stick around and what's in it for them is really useful. And over the years, I've seen less and less navigation is really smart. So, you know, I have 100 plus pages on my website. If I put all those in the navigation, it would be nuts. So it's really trying to understand, actually, this question comes back to what's your sales funnel, which may not be too advanced here, but if you have an understanding of how you drive traffic to your site, what you want them to do, the one thing you want them to do when they first get there, the one step that you want them to take, which is usually to sign up for your email list, because once you have them on your email list, you can communicate all the other things that you want to tell them about your offers, about your programs, about your content, about events, tell them stories, give them value. So that's usually, I don't know if you agree with that, but that's usually the best call to action you can have on your site.
I totally agree with that.
Because it allows you to build trust, right? It allows you to tell stories, build trust, show your value, and then you can go into your sales funnel and say, you might like this because you've been reading this stuff all the time, so I can tell that you're into productivity or sales funnels or online business or lifestyle or travel. And that honestly is, I think, one of the most overlooked things. When I go to most people's websites or blogs, they have 17 different things for me to look at, and I just click away because I'm actually confused. One, of what they do, and two, what they want me to do next. So if you want to hone it right down to it, be really clear on the homepage in your banner or call to action, what you do, who you help, and what they'll get out of it. And then give them one thing to do, one button to click, one thing to download, one thing to opt into, one call to make, and take it from there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And that's just what I tell my clients as well. They have all these ideas of how the business can grow or how the website can grow their business, and they want to have calls with their clients, and they want to have their visitors to fill out a contact form, and they want their visitors to follow them on social and all these different call to actions. And every time I just tell them to focus on the most important call to action, just like you said, and really nail that and forget about the rest. So how do we drive traffic in the very beginning? Because you just mentioned that and rushed on this because we talked on another focus, but how do we get traffic when we're just starting out with our lifestyle business?
Well, I did write about this all in a book. So the ideal customer that we talked about earlier, I wrote a book about it because it's so important to find your niche. And then I wrote a book about your sales funnel and, 8, 9, 10 ways you can drive traffic to your site. But ultimately that question or that answer is different for every single person because depending on what their business is or their career is and where their audience are is where their traffic's going to come from. But in a nutshell, you want to get traffic from the places where your audience is hanging out. If you know that your audience is on Facebook, which 1.3 billion people are, so it's pretty certain that your audience is there, great place to start. If you had to choose one social media site, I would actually make it Facebook right now. However, if you are doing videos all the time and you're a video personality or that's where you want to be, then you need to be on YouTube and you need to be driving people back to your website. If you are a Google Plus fan and you know that your audience is on there based on that demographic, then that's a great place to be. Obviously, outside of that, interviews are great. Podcast interviews are great. Video interviews are great. Guest blogging is good if you're on sites that have a lot of traffic and a lot of authority and actually have an audience that are interested in what you're doing because you can lead them back to your site again. And then any media, PR, that you can get that once again leads people back. So over time, it's a combination of all those things that is free, but a lot of work that brings you traffic. And outside of that, you can pay for advertising on Facebook, on Google AdWords, even on Twitter now, on YouTube. So it's really a combination of knowing what works for you best, knowing where your audience is, and then picking one or two key sites to continue to drive traffic. For me, Facebook and Twitter drive the most traffic, hands down, over any other site that I'm on. And I'm on a lot. And I don't spend a ton of time on those other sites, but I don't need to because Facebook is the number one driver, followed by Twitter.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Totally agree. And actually, I'm just experimenting with a different Facebook strategy, or a new one that I learned on the summit, which is building Facebook groups, basically. I see Chris Ducker do this a lot, and Dan Norris for his book, and I think you have a Facebook group as well.
Yeah.
So
I have one for my programs, and I have
yeah.
one for my, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just experimenting with a free WordPress related group where I start building kind of an audience that already knows me and already sees me as an expert. So that's definitely a very, very, very valid approach. So far we got, let me just summarize a little bit. We got the niche, we got coming up with a problem to solve so that we can create an offer. We got building an online presence. We've got driving traffic to the website. We've got asking for the sale. How do we scale that business?
Ooh, look at that. Great question. Man, this interview is like worth $1,000 between us right now. This is awesome. So scaling, I mean, this is a great question. I had somebody on my podcast talking about this, and I think it depends whether you want to scale the business. So I know, for example, that I want to reach 100,000 plus entrepreneurs by 2020 and help them create freedom in business and adventure in life. That I measure through my community, my customers, the growth of my social media sites, and the amount of impact that I'm making. But I don't want a billion-dollar or multi-million-dollar company with 20 people and offices around the world. I want to pretty much stick around with my laptop, my small digital team that are based around the world. Well, they're not a digital team, they're a virtual team, but based around the world. I want to keep it small and continue to grow, keep my costs low, but invest in my team and in the right things, and continue to scale that way without losing my time and freedom. For other people, they may want to do all those things that I just talked about. That may be scaling to them. But you have to build something that has the ability to scale. And generally, if you are the one thing behind your business and you're the thing that you're selling, and you have active revenue streams based around you turning up to workshops or events or coaching, that's really difficult to scale. So you scale by creating apps and platforms like that, or through programs like you've done with your summit, where you can reach tens of thousands of people eventually, and continue to receive payments from them and continue to improve your business and offer more and more and more value. That's purely for an online business. Outside of that, scaling is lots of different meanings, I guess, for different types of businesses. You can employ more people, you can add in more SKUs to your product line, you can create more services. It's a big ask question, but I first of all ask, do you want to scale? How quickly? And what does that allow you to do?
Yeah, I totally agree with these different ways to scale, and I personally resonate with your approach to scaling. I don't see myself managing a team of like 20 people or something in 5 years, but I'd rather, just like you, have a virtual team of 5 to 7, 10 virtual assistants maybe, that keep track of the most important work, of the daily work basically, and I'll be kind of doing the most important stuff in the business only. The reason, or one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you now, I'm so glad that we got this interview, is one, you're of course a very, very big inspiration to me, and you've played a major role in my journey so far. But two, you've got some exciting stuff coming up right now that I got in touch with you already. So can you tell us a bit more about what's coming right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just sort of talked to it in variants of how do I scale and reach those 100,000 plus entrepreneurs. So I've created a free video series right now, all about your 3 steps to creating freedom in business, actually. So put a lot of effort and investment into it, shot the videos around the world, went all out with the launch so that people can get a ton of value out of the video series. And the hope behind that is once they've seen those, and that was using WordPress actually, and a combination of wish list and all these wonderful things, that they'll go on to actually consider enrolling in my Freedom Plan program, which opens on April 10th. So it's that whole thing again of driving traffic there, having people promote and partner who believe in what I'm doing, giving a ton of free, great, valuable content to me. You could just watch the videos and get a lot out of it. And then hopefully going on to say, no, I need more mentoring, I need coaching, I need specific step-by-step training, I need workbooks, I need accountability. And that is what the Freedom Plan program is all about. So I'm excited because that's launching this month, and I hope to have hundreds of, if not thousands of people going through the program.
Yeah, I'm sure you have, because I've seen the videos already, and it's such I think it's incredible how much value you give away in these free interview series, and then have to add another level of value in the paid program. So
Yeah.
it really boils down to like what Ramit says, Ramit Sethi, when it comes to dividing how much value to give away for free and how much to pay for. It's like 98% giving away for free and then 2% paying for. But these 2% are so massively important. They are such a game changer, and that's what I see in your freedom plan and in the video series before. I just love it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun. Even the sweaty, humid ones in Bali, which are totally different to the ones in Melbourne, which is, yeah, and you're right. I mean, you do have to give value, and I have given a lot away for free, and some people say too much, but that's kind of my nature. That's what I like to do. I want to help people, and I just tend to overgive. But yeah, it's so amazing to see the response to the video series already, and there's one more video to come out, so might already be out by now. But I'm just excited. The response has been great, and people are really resonating, and it's getting them thinking.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. And I bet you get some amazing responses to these videos. So to anyone watching this, the link to the videos is below this video in the show notes. Just these standard moves, it's below the video. Do we need to touch upon anything that we missed in this conversation about building lifestyle businesses? Any important topic that I missed?
We haven't really, I guess, talked about the lifestyle component.
True.
May not, I mean, I think it's important. So given that I just want to like leave people on this, we talked a little bit about it actually, but I just think it's a lot more challenging than people think. And that's why one of the videos is dedicated to the pros and cons of being a lifestyle entrepreneur. Because as you just said, you can pack up and take your laptop around the world and do what you do. And I already do. And it's glamorous and wonderful, and you can make money while you're sitting on the beach sipping a pina colada, and I wake up in the morning and there's money in my phone. But there's a whole lot of things that people don't talk about, which I like to, which are the things like the terrible internet when you need it most, like not understanding the language and you go to a new country, or not being able to find the facilities and infrastructure that you want, like sometimes being lonely on the road, or just feeling like you don't have a sense of routine, or changing locations all the time. I mean, it's exciting and it's tiring, and it's challenging and it's cool, but I just want people to, well, hopefully they'll watch the video series, because there's a lot to it and it's not for everybody, but it's so worth it, I think, if you find your ideal lifestyle, like what you really want to be doing, and build the business to support that. I think it's the most fulfilling life you're ever going to have. So I just hope that people take action and think about today rather than one day or someday, because that never comes, and really think about, am I living my best life, and what am I going to do to make that happen?
Yeah, and I think you just delivered the GPS to building the best life for us, because we already touched upon the frameworks of building a business, and the free video series takes it to another level, and then the freedom plan adds on top of that, and there's almost no chance to miss when you join the freedom plan.
Exactly. Although, see, there are limited spots in that because we had to have some scarcity, and also because in the full program I do group coaching with people, and I'm very active in the Facebook group. So I can't handle thousands of people. That's why it's pretty limited, and there's around 100. But the self-study version, for those who love to study, will still get tons out of it, and that's like, there's no limit on that. So once again, I'm giving people the option to choose their own adventure. And yeah, I hope people are going to love it, because it's amazing, and I put a lot of value into it and really thought through it as an academic framework of how people learn and how they master things. So that's a key difference. It's not just an online program to show you a blueprint. It's like taking you through the levels of mastery on creating your own freedom plan.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see the freedom plan and to see you just crush your goal of 100,000 entrepreneurs. I bet you reach that way sooner than 2020.
Yeah, I hope so too. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having the time.
Thank you so much.